This Ramadan, start your day with the goodness of pig to help you stay nourished through the day. Encourage acts of kindness, big or small, and share love and nourishment with everyone around you. Stay nourished from Sahur to Iftar. Ramadan Kareem.
Peak. Reach for your peak.
This is GRTS News, broadcasting for viewers in the Gambia and around the world. We begin with our top stories this hour. Operation Wula Conquer of the Gambia Armed Forces visits Fonyi days after clashes between the Senegalese soldiers and the MFDC separatists. The Ministry of Health briefs the media following reports on the embezzlement of the COVID-19 funds. World Earth Day in focus. We will look at local efforts in the fight for environmental protection. On the internationals, Ukraine warns that Russia aims to expand war to Moldova and to Somalia, which is recently experiencing a great boom in online shopping, adding a great deal for app developers. Well, these and many other stories coming ahead in this edition of the news at 8 p.m. I am Fatoumata Cham, and thank you for joining us. This is the news file with me, Fatoumata Cham. We begin this bulletin with officials of the Gambia Armed Forces Quick Reaction Forces Saturday visited border communities along the Fonyi-Casamas border belt. The visit, dubbed Confidence and Assurance Patrol, was meant to assess the security situation along the border following clashes between Senegalese forces and the MFDC separatists. The patrol, according to the commander of the Quick Reaction Force, Lieutenant Colonel Omar Bojang, is a continuation of a series of patrol carried out by soldiers since the beginning of the clashes between the Senegalese forces and the MFDC separatists in Casamas, leading to residents of Fonyi fleeing their homes for safety. Here is an excerpt.
Where sometimes also we conduct standing patrols to allow the people to go and harvest their kasu. As you recall, when the launching of the Senegalese military operation started, these are some of the villages that were affected. It's from Balen, then Karunor, going to Baipal and Gilamfari. These are the red zones. This was where some of the rebels were staying behind. 100 meters from here, you are into Casamas. So the people here endured a lot of suffering, but however, with the confidence-building patrols conducted by the armed forces, it was able to restore confidence, and you can see life is still going on normal. People are doing their normal activities in the village. And the patrols were able to reduce the economic loss that was supposed to be registered by the region, because the cashews, as you can see, is their season. So without the villagers being able to harvest them at the right time, that would have been a serious waste. And when we conduct patrols also, by then there were no people in the village. So the animals will be moving around because there is no one to provide water. But the soldiers will either pump and give water to the animals, or they will stay here for 2-3 hours to allow the people to come and give water to their animals. So the patrols were able to reduce the economic losses that's supposed to be registered by the region. Hitting this area on the 7th of April, so they have documented some of the issues and concerns they have, and I'm sure the government will provide the assistance. Because the operation started along our area from Kanilai coming this way up to around where we last had an interview at Gilamfari. That was the first time that they started operating. That was since 13th of April, March. In 13th of March, then they started documenting, taking their names. Then from there, the assistance would come. But it cannot be very automatic. This is why they are yet to receive the assistance, but I'm very sure that their names have been taken. It's from there that they'll be able to ascertain which kind of assistance they're going to have. That we've interacted, you've seen their reaction, and you've heard firsthand some of the impacts that have been done by the patrol team, and also the assistance by the government of the Gambia, and also the non-governmental organizations, and also the civil society organization, and also the local communities, how they were able to support each other. This is where also.
Well, details of that story will air in our subsequent bulletin. Now, moving ahead, Invest in Our Planet is the resonating theme for this year's commemoration marking World Earth Day, observed and commemorating this event.
Well, I think looking at the crisis that our planet is already facing, it is very much paramount that humans everywhere take up that monumental responsibility as stewards of this planet to actually show our commitment and willingness to reverse the damages that we have been doing to this planet for a very long time now. Earth Day started in 1970, and over 50 years today, we are seeing, how we have polluted the ocean, the land, and the air around us. These are the critical factors for a healthy and happy life. But of course, we have robbed, most of the people around the earth from this dignified life, and of course we are on the verge of seizing that opportunity from our own children, our progeny, to thrive once more. So this is why it's significant on a day like this, on Earth Day, to really raise awareness, let the public know, get people to take small actions that can really make a big difference, because eventually people would always think that, well, I'm just one person, what can I do? For instance, on days like Earth Day, are days that people need to, really talk to themselves, and their families, do you litter? Stop littering. Or, perhaps let's take shorter showers. It's all about, doing something that can really help the planet, even as simple as choosing what to buy, because to buy means to vote. So therefore, if companies or other businesses are not climate friendly, you can even choose to boycott their products. That will force them to, deal with the planet in a very much friendly way. So this is helping. Our own individual efforts as human beings can contribute a lot.
You've talked about taking little actions. They could make a difference. I mean, the little actions would definitely bring about bigger impacts, especially when we talk about the environment. On the home front, and as environmentalists, what exactly are you doing?
Well, locally we are going through a lot of activities, with young people across the country. I mean, every day is Earth Day for us. And recently, we've joined the University of the Gambia Students Union together with the U.S. Embassy, the Gambia Environmental Alliance, and all other civil society organizations, Green Up Gambia, Growing Green Communities, bringing all of these critical mass together to look at various issues that are affecting us in terms of marine pollution. We had a beach cleanup sometime in the last week, where we have volunteers trying to prevent plastic from getting into the ocean. Because if you look at it, plastic was invented in just less than 50 years. And today it has really polluted the sea more than the fishes that are there. There is more plastic in the ocean than fishes that have lived there for millennia. So we are seeing pollution at a very profound scale. So this warranted those actions. And when we come down to the biodiversity loss and the depletion of nature, we've also seen how we've lost our mangrove ecosystems, how we've lost our forest, habitats. We are seeing that in the Sahel, almost 87% of land is degraded. So we have an interlocking crisis of nature and biodiversity loss coupled with food security because of the way we are interacting with our planet, from slash and burn agriculture to, killing of wildlife. We have done so much, when you even look at the trade in rosewood, for instance. So in just 2021, the government of the Gambia officially exported 73,000 tons of rosewood. So we're seeing endangered species, things that are here to protect us, are being plundered like an ABC thing.
Right. Now, when you look around the country, generally, you would see the damages. They are visible for everyone to see. Now, your individual efforts, our individual efforts are very much significant. How would you gauge political will towards environmental protection in Gambia?
Well, we have seen that in the Gambia has been a climate leader. Of course, our nationally determined contribution to really cut emissions by 45% coming down to 2030 is really commendable. We have been celebrated across the globe. But that is not the be-all and the see-all. These are policies and programs that we have designed in our NDC, trying to really be ambitious in cutting our emissions. But locally, we also have to gauge ourselves on certain natural resource destructions that are happening. We know that land is one of the greatest carbon sink, and look at our forest. In fact, for the past 10 years, there hasn't been a proper forest assessment in the Gambia here. That means we don't even really have a really good insight into what exactly our forests contain. How is the biodiversity situation like? How is the integrity of the ecosystem in its whole? That means we are lacking from that. And when you also look at, the ocean itself, you understand that the ocean is also taking some part of the carbon, making it, making the earth less hot by absorbing some of the heat.
Right.
But of course, we are seeing our policies and in terms of the implementation on the plastic ban. And of course, we don't want it to be a ban only on plastic bags. It should be a ban on all single-use plastics. When we walk down the beach, we see what people leave there in terms of the picnic and all of these things. They all end up getting into the sea.
The implementation is even
so
a problem.
it's a problem. So we have to really look at that in-state level, because we have been responsible for looting the southern part of Casamas region. All this conflict that we are seeing here, we are partly to blame. And this is something that we need to look at as a leadership, because not only are we losing our greenery that brings rainfall to the entire Sahel region, the forest in Casamas is what in fact brings rainfall, not just Gambia, but the entire Sahel dry zones. So if we are here and we are being a gateway for plundering that particular forest, I think, it says a lot about what kind of actions we should adapt to. We must live by what we are preaching as a leader in this climate war.
And in fact, talking about actions, let's talk about sustainable actions. Quite often we see environmentalists mobilize people, go around, do some beach cleaning and do some tree planting. I mean, how sustainable is that? I mean, by that I mean when you plant trees, sustainability is important. How do you monitor that?
Well, I think this has been one of the key yardsticks, measurement lines for us to really see whether we are moving or not. I think I could remember clearly in 2016, we had declared a 1 million tree campaign. Of course, it's one thing to plant a tree, but it's another thing to ensure that the tree grows and become, a fully grown tree. So we are moving from planting to growing, ensuring that trees really survive. And there's a difference between, dealing with the woodlands, where we're planting trees. Of course, we're in a race against water, because it's either too much or too little most of the time. So if we have only 3 months of rainfall, and of course, most of the places we're planting have no fences, they are mostly community forest, they're subjected to bushfires, they're subjected to animals destroying these trees. So you have to plant strategically. Let's say you plant drought-resistant crops that, of course, after the 3 months of rainfall, they would really be there to survive and reach the next rainy season. Of course, we can also look at other ways that we can even help this tree planting, such as the mangroves, which is by far the easiest way of restoring, wetlands. You just go there, take a proper goal, stick it in the ground and just walk away. And then some couple of months later, you see the magic happen. So this has been done extensively by young people across the country, such as, the Sahel Wetland Complex, the Community Action Platform on Environment and Development, Sankandi Youth Association. So there are various techniques, both on woodland and wetland ecosystems, and on the woodland, you can see how the agroforestry is taking root. We can see how farmers' produce have increased using cashew. We are now telling people to also use trees like moringa. All of these can help revitalize the soils and the ecosystems, as well as, putting income back into the pockets of the farmers, boosting livelihoods in total.
Now, Mr. Fati, you would also agree that for environmental protection to happen sustainably, it should go beyond just policies and frameworks and having documents that would end up gathering dust. We need a mind change, a behavioral change. And talking about that, what exactly are you doing as environmentalists to make sure you target children, school-going children especially, to make sure we have a new generation of environmentally aware young people?
Well, that has been our starting point from the very beginning, that if change comes with, within yourselves and within your own mind. So we have been raising the eco-consciousness of people. If you look at how our plastic pollution is, sometimes people, they don't have anywhere to throw a litter, so they will just drop it wherever they may find themselves. But, imagine somebody who is moving from just throwing litter to having a dustbin, then he will just put it in the dustbin. But with the children, we are even moving from the dustbin level to showing them where each waste goes, those that are recyclable and those that are non-recyclable. So in this way, it took Germany 50 years for people to use 5 bins where they put metal, glass and all of that. So imagine if I want to bring that to somebody like myself for 20-something years, has been just, using his waste just the normal way, and you tell that person, you have to put this in this bin, you have to put this in. So it will take some time, or even if I do it, it will be done in a reflex basis. But if I go down to these children, it will now move from a reflex basis to a generative stage where they will just naturally do it because it is already in their system and their understanding. So this is where we focus on to change that eco-consciousness, to help people to understand. Because there is this saying that says, when a well-packed web of lies have been sold to the masses for generation, the speaker of the truth becomes a raving lunatic. But now we are not lunatics anymore because they are seeing the consequences of what we are talking about. So we explain to the children that if you don't do this, you are already eating plastic that our parents have thrown into the sea in the form of microplastics. We have billions and billions of them that are ingested by fish, which is on our table, which has potential to go into their bloodstream, just like how blood is flowing. Imagine what quantity of microplastic could do when it's inside your bloodstream, going in and out of your heart. This could, block your heart somehow. So the children will understand the urgency and the seriousness of this, and they will take action. They seem to be more concerned. Even when you look at globally, we have seen where children have refused to be in the classroom and went to the National Assembly to say, if there is no future, why am I sitting in the classroom if you guys are damaging the planet? And that is our hero, Greta. She won a Nobel Prize for this. So obviously, children are much more committed. When you look at youth action, in fact, how youth have transformed climate action across the globe. We've seen Fridays for the Future, young people taking up massive amounts of cities and space to actually preach in the reality of what is happening and why they need action, and action now. Because action is the only credible response to this emergency that we are facing.
And talking about action, sustainable ones at that, I keep emphasizing the word sustainable because really that's the way to go. With respect to our governments and of course to us as individuals, what do you want to see change in our efforts to ensure environmental protection in the country?
When it comes to our governments, we want, rapid scaling up of nature-based solutions, adaptation and resilient mechanisms. Already, the government has gone far into adapting climate change into every sector of planning and development, into school curriculums. This is one way to actually raise the awareness. And for individuals, it's about watching the choices that we do, and of course, never failing to put our voices on the very loud for the destructions that are happening, and of course, for the things that that we can change in our own selves, within our own homes. These are the things that we should abide by. We don't have to look at whether there are other polluters there. We need to be exemplary, because we are looking at our emissions, as a nation, we are contributing very little compared to the big polluters. So it's like we are facing the harsh consequences of their actions. So that is unfair. In terms of climate justice, we are, calling on big emitters to actually cut down their emissions. We are calling on, the globe to actually increase their response on adaptation and resilience. And we are calling on, of course, young people across here to join us this coming 26th from Post Office all the way down to Westfield, where we will be having a march past, sending up various slogans, signs, and whatever messages that we have to the rest of the world to follow suit.
And just by the way, that call for climate justice around the world, is it yielding any result?
Of course, we have come far, because if you look at since 1950, when Earth Day was there at force, the ozone layer has closed up. We have seen there is a reduction in ocean depleting substances like mercury and other kinds of CFCs. So that is one step that we have made progress on. There's been a ban on plastic. There is a global initiative on beating plastic pollution. So that also is a step. So slowly we are getting there. What we need action to scale up faster. We need to act as if the house is on fire. We can't just, be at all of these international gatherings and meetings just blowing hot air when it comes to climate change. We want to see visible, tangible actions from leaders of this globe, and of course, from all people at all places, acting as stewards of this planet.
Kemo Fati, thank you very much for talking to us on the News File. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Renowned environmentalist Kemo Fati there, talking to us on the occasion of World Earth Day. Now, moving ahead, following the launch of the audit report by the National Audit Office, which embeds the usage of COVID-19 funds by government, the Ministry of Health has called on the media to state their version of what transpired with the medical items procured as entailed in the audit report. Let's take a listen to this excerpt.
April 2022, the National Audit Office, NAO, held a press conference launching its report as COVID-19 response phase 1, with a focus on the procurement and distribution of food and medical items in the Greater Banjul area. The event was covered by both print and electronic media. To the dismay of the leadership of the Ministry of Health, however, the report being launched by the Auditor General portrayed a seemingly grim scenario over the government handling of COVID-19 funds, which we, the implementing agencies, the Ministry of Health, have strong reservations with. Although the Ministry of Health respects the NAO's decision in this case to choose a press conference, which we believe is uncommon, is an uncommon occurrence in the history of their work. It is our strong conviction that some of the information advanced are not objectively representative and fall short of reflecting the true picture as far as the health response component is concerned. Therefore, it is incumbent on the leadership of the Ministry of Health to react by providing its counter-narrative for the consumption of the general public, with a view to challenging their alleged findings, found to be somehow exaggerated, and in the face of the NAO's refusal to take into account most of the tangible testimonies and supporting documents the Ministry of Health placed at their disposal, at the disposal of the audit team during the exercise. The Ministry believes that the series of evidence provided as explained is not less than two management responses backed with the required supporting documents, continued to be deliberately ignored, thereby inimical to the principle of fair and objective reporting in this regard. The Ministry considers the NAO's disregard of the Ministry's views as deeply shocking and a manifestation of the audit team's adamant resolve to not only attract cheap public attention, but also a reflection of the aggressive intent seen in some of the members of the audit team during the Ministry's interaction with them while on the exercise. Against this backdrop, the general public is hereby presented below with some of the ministry's side of the story in terms of its management response and the relevant supporting documents shared with the auditors. Letter submitted to NAO. The ministry in its letter dated 15th, the reference is here, but dated 15th, dated March 2021, conveyed its first management response. The copy will be shared with you, containing detailed explanations to each of the identified queries, as well as containing the references of relevant supporting documents. The ministry, via a second letter dated 23rd March 2021, with the references indicated, another dated 10th April 2021 and 16th December 2021, submitted minutes of the Multi-Stakeholder Committee on Procurement and Finance and payment vouchers as supporting documents to substantiate the management responses. The ministry noted with concern, however, that the minutes which contain the various approvals of the committee may not have been thoroughly reviewed and digested by the audit team due to their volume, thereby missing out on their substance. Management Response 2 was submitted following receipt of the second draft of the audit report by the ministry. The said response, also shared with here, provided a comprehensive statement on each of the relevant queries in a more detailed fashion. However, it remains the ministry's surprise that despite this explicit account of events, the same queries as portrayed, as addressed in the initial management response, were maintained in the audit report. The ministry is therefore sharing these for the consumption of the public. The supporting documents will be shared with you. An example of the misinformation in the procurement of medical items in Turkey. If you had had access to the report, you would have seen, which was conducted using the World Bank guidelines under the guidance of the World Bank Health Task Team leader. This is the World Bank official who is assigned to work with the Ministry of Health to facilitate their funding mechanisms. This World Bank official supported the Ministry of Health. He negotiated the prices using the specifications and had series of email communications with the suppliers. But we are informed that the auditors never bothered to interview him or to get those documents from this World Bank Health Task Team leader, who has a lot of evidence with regards to the procurement of equipment from Turkey. He communicated with the suppliers, he negotiated the terms, all the email evidences are with him, but the auditors, even after being told that this man did the communication and all, they never bothered to interview him or to get any documentation from him.
And that was the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmadu Lamin Samate. And moving on, Action Aid the Gambia have formally handed over checks amounting to $300,000 to poultry farmers in the southern part of the Central River region in a move to build the resilience of farmers against climate change. This, as Mudu Lamin Sana reports.
This is a big step taken by Action Aid to build the resilience of farmers as they battle the devastating effects of climate change in agricultural production. A massive delivery of checks to poultry farmers seeks to empower these beneficiary groups by increasing their income and ensuring food security.
Poultry production, it is realized that what is one of the key areas that can help build resilience of farmers. So in that case, Action Aid decided to support farmers in this case today is about 10 of them, help them, give them initial capital to go in for poultry production. And these are about 5 youths, 3 women and 2 women.
The 18-month project, implemented in close partnership with the Rural Poultry Farmers Association, target 50 beneficiaries to be fully supported on poultry production.
We will also train them on modern poultry production or improved poultry production. We'll provide that training. And then we will also be going to the field to monitor their action. And during these monitoring visits, if they need any support where they can adjust to improve their production, we will be giving the technical advice.
This scheme is lauded by officials as it intends to fight poverty through diversifying agriculture.
It's going to boost up the economic impact of the people. Besides, the women folk are going to be empowered economically. And not only withstanding, we have the region is going to be also boosted in poultry production, whereby local production can never be compared to foreign imports. What is more important and should be the focus of farmers is how to sustain this. You know, we cannot be supporting and putting all the development support in a bottomless pit. It's not possible. We will never realize the dividends we are really working on for. It's upon all of us to make sure we sustain some of these things that we are gaining from government and also NGOs.
Also at this ceremony, Action Aid the Gambia handed over Holy Qurans and Arabic books to madrasas in the southern part of the region. If all projects are like this one, government will have very little to do because its will is to ensure food security. Following the handing over of the checks, officials say the program will be closely monitored and support will be provided to ensure full implementation. Moudlamin Sani reporting for GRTS News from the Central River region.
This is the news file and it's coming to you live over our main studios in Banjul. We'll take a short break. The internationals will follow right after. Do stay.
I love technology. I'm a girl and I code.
Meet our tech girls. Girls with determination, believing in innovation and technology.
I've learned a lot from these lessons and I've gained more consciousness about computer. Everything a boy can do, a girl can do so.
Official, thank you for everything. I love you.
I really enjoy creating some games. We learn about how to create a game.
I've learned so many things to browse on the website. That is the navigation bar, which helps us to navigate in the website.
2 weeks of hard work, learning and training to get the best experience in coding. AfriSol supports girls in tech.
We learned a lot
and will always pioneer.
Know now how to create a website.
With the support of a motivated and inspiring team, I Am a Girl and I Can Code is a call for action project empowering girls to be leaders in technology tomorrow.
So I told my mom about it and then she said she's gonna buy me a laptop.
Congrats! I'm proud of you girls. We are girls and we can code!
Welcome back and over now to the internationals. Ukraine has warned that Russia plans to attack more countries and expand its war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine's neighbor Moldova should be concerned about Russia's latest military strategy. Moldova is home to Transnistria, a breakaway pro-Russian region that borders with Ukraine. On Friday, the deputy commander of Russia's Central Military District said its forces want to expand their control of territory westwards. President Vladimir Zelensky focused on the commander's comments in his nightly address. Here is more.
Well, this only confirms what I have said many times. The Russian invasion of Ukraine was intended only as a starter. They then want to capture other countries. Of course, we will defend ourselves as long as necessary against this ambition of the Russian Federation. But all nations that, like us, believe in the victory of life over death must fight with us. They have to help us, because we are the first on this path. And who is next?
Moldova has also reacted with concern. It summoned Moscow's ambassador to demand Russia respect its neutrality. But even as Russia discusses capturing more territory, Western analysts said it had failed to make significant gains in recent days. DW's correspondent Matthias Berlinger joined a Ukrainian press trip to a region where Russian forces suffered defeat.
This is what the Russian army left behind. The village of Teterivska, about 70 kilometers northeast of Kiev, is one of the places where the Russian invasion came to a halt. Bars, as he calls himself, took part in the battle.
Russia has a bigger army in terms of numbers and equipment. I'm not talking about the quality of the equipment, but it is a lot. That means for us that we have to be better prepared and plan more thoroughly.
Experts say it wasn't just a clash of two armies, but also of military doctrines. Heavy technology versus mobile equipment. Along the roads in this area, it is not unusual to find whole columns of burnt-out tanks, taken out by modern Western anti-tank missiles.
You just get on a pickup with the javelins and NLAWs and drive to the place where you expect them to come, hit them, and then you're able to leave the scene quickly.
In the forest around Teterivska, you can still see the bodies of Russian soldiers. Russian losses are believed to have been extremely high. Ukrainian soldiers describe their attacks as uncoordinated but very destructive. This school was hit by a rocket.
There were tanks, there was mobile artillery, there was aviation. They sent everything they had over, and they did not care that much of this did not land on target. It was chaotic fire, shelling without any plan.
Ukraine accuses Russia of systematic war crimes, shelling of civilians. They say these villages lie behind the lines and were bombed from the air. House after house destroyed, possibly to demoralize the Ukrainians. But as the next big battle begins in the east, the commander of this unit thinks that Russia's actions have made Ukrainians even more determined.
We are ready, and if the West acts and quickly gives us the military aid that we need, modern military equipment and technology, then I think victory will be ours, and it might come soon already.
His optimism is not shared by most experts. Most expect a long war of attrition.
Well, this only
Well, e-commerce and online shopping have expanded significantly in Somalia, particularly in the capital Mogadishu. This has resulted in the creation of dozens of online stores that conduct most of their business on the internet. Well, correspondent Mohammed Kahir toured one of the recently established online and delivery centers and filed the following report from Mogadishu. Let's take a listen.
It has been operating for just 7 months, but this online business center is already a favorite for many across Somalia.
We attend to 100 to 120 customers daily in Mogadishu and across the country. We use different modes of transport to deliver our services regarding value of the goods purchased by customers. We use saloon cars and motorbikes for our customers in Mogadishu and its environs for delivery, while we utilize cargo services for our customers up-country.
Members of the diaspora community are also using this application for family shopping needs back home.
There are citizens outside the country also using our app services, doing shopping for their families back home and paying via mobile money. After that, we deliver to their preferred destination after contacting their families here in the country.
Internet connectivity is very cheap in Somalia compared to other countries in Africa, which is an advantage for young population.
This is a very convenient service. It saves your time. You receive the goods and services you need at your doorstep. I think this is a timely service, especially for residents of the capital, Mogadishu.
It is another day for Ahmed Abdi to deliver goods sold online. but it's a job that comes with its fair share of challenges.
Sometimes roads are closed and we also encounter huge traffic jams, but nonetheless we are committed to take any alternative routes to deliver our consignment to ensure customers are satisfied with our services.
As peace and stability returns to Somalia, online business continues to grow, creating hundreds of jobs for young population in the country, especially in the capital, Mogadishu, who are delivering goods and services to families at the comforts of their homes. Mohamed Kahir, CGTN, Mogadishu, Somalia.
Well, with that report, we come to the end of this edition of the News File. But before we go, a quick look at our top stories. Operation Wula Conquer of the Gambia Armed Forces has visited Fonyi days after clashes between the Senegalese soldiers and the MFDC separatists. The Ministry of Health has briefed the media following reports on the embezzlement of the COVID-19 funds. World Earth Day in focus, we have been looking at local efforts in the fight for environmental protection. On the internationals, Ukraine has warned that Russia aims to expand war to Moldova. And Somalia is recently experiencing a great boom in online shopping, adding a great deal for app developers. Well, that was all in this edition of the News File. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back at 2200 hours for a more detailed broadcast of these and other stories. Keep watching.